A 10-year-old boy stood alone in a Los Angeles juvenile courtroom, dressed in ill-fitting donated clothes, a button-up shirt from a church, pants cinched with a belt at the last hole, shoes that squeaked because they were half a size too small. He didn't look like he belonged in a courtroom. He looked like a fifth grader who should be worrying about math tests and recess, not facing felony grand theft charges that could ruin his life. Lucas Martinez was small, terrified, and completely out of place as 50 people watched from the gallery. Lawyers, court staff, law students earning credit, and his mother Maria in the back row, crying quietly into her hands. The charges: breaking into a luxury car in Beverly Hills and stealing $15,000 worth of electronics. The evidence: security footage showing a boy matching Lucas's description, his fingerprints on the car door, and his arrest 3 blocks away, running with a backpack. "All rise," the bailiff announced. The Honorable Judge Harold Whitmore entered. A man in his late 50s with silver hair, expensive robes, and a face that suggested he had never known real hardship. He sat, glanced at the file, then at Lucas with a look somewhere between boredom and contempt. People versus Lucas Martinez. Felony grand theft, criminal trespass, resisting arrest. "Where's the defense attorney?" "Here, Your Honor." Sarah Mitchell, public defender, stood. Her suit was worn, her briefcase held together with duct tape. She looked tired beyond her 35 years. "Another pro bono case, Ms. Mitchell? How noble," the judge smirked. Laughter rippled through the gallery. Prosecutor Marcus Hamilton rose in his $3,000 suit, perfect hair and teeth. The victim, the car owner, a wealthy man from the hills, was present and nodded approvingly. Bail was set at $50,000 despite Sarah's desperate pleas. No prior record, 10 years old, mother working 2 jobs in East LA, impossible to pay. "Your Honor, he's just a child." "Not my problem," Whitmore cut in. "If he can steal $15,000, his family can afford bail." Lucas's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't do it. Please." "Every defendant says that," the judge replied coldly. "This boy has no defense. The footage shows you. Your fingerprints are there. You were running with stolen goods. Save your protests for someone who cares." Sarah tried again. He was protecting his 7-year-old sister Sophia. She was locked inside the car by the real thief. That's why his fingerprints are on the door. That's why he was running. He was carrying her. The judge raised an eyebrow. A convenient story. No mention of any sister in the police report. Motion denied. Bail stands at $50,000. Defendant remanded to juvenile detention until trial in 30 days. Lucas shouted, "I broke the window to get her out. She was scared." Silence fell. The judge leaned forward. "Prove it." "Nobody listened," Lucas sobbed. "The police said I was lying. They said nobody would believe a kid from East LA. Maria stood in the back. Sophia is with our neighbor Mrs. Chun right now." "Too convenient," Whitmore dismissed. Sarah begged for a full review of all security footage, not just the 30-second clip the prosecution used. Denied. Hamilton blocked every request. The judge slammed his gavel. Adjourned. Bailiff, take the defendant into custody. Lucas lunged toward his mother. "Mom, tell them about Sophia. I'm not lying." Bailiffs grabbed him, dragging him away. Maria's cries echoed. Sarah stood helpless as they pulled Lucas toward the detention door. His last look back at his mother was full of betrayal and confusion. The terrible realization that truth doesn't matter if nobody listens. In the hallway, Detective James Morgan approached Sarah. He had been quietly observing. "I believe him," he said simply. "Belief doesn't help without proof," Sarah replied, exhausted. "Then let's get proof," Morgan answered. "The judge denied your motion to investigate further, but he didn't order me to stop. I'm still lead detective. I'm going to review every second of footage from that night. Something about this arrest report bothers me. They noted he was talking incoherently about a girl and dismissed it. What if it wasn't incoherent?" Morgan shared a painful memory. 15 years earlier he arrested a 15-year-old with drugs in his backpack. The boy swore they weren't his. Morgan didn't believe him. The kid went to detention, life ruined. 2 years later the cousin confessed. I wonder every day if I'd believed him, would he have turned out different? Not this time. If there's even a chance Lucas is telling the truth, I have to look. Sarah felt a flicker of hope. We have 30 days until trial. Then we work fast, Morgan said. Start looking for Sophia. If she exists, we need her testimony. At 2 a.m., Detective Morgan sat in his car outside LAPD headquarters, reviewing 12 angles of security footage he had obtained by calling businesses near the Beverly Hills location. The prosecution's clip was only 30 seconds, carefully edited. Going back 15 minutes earlier, he saw an adult, James Caldwell, 32, career criminal on parole, approach the car with lockpick tools, open the door in 90 seconds, climb in, trigger the alarm while disabling the ignition, panic, grab electronics, throw his backpack outside to climb out faster, then flee. In the back seat, barely visible, a small child locked inside. Sophia. 5 minutes later Lucas appeared, desperate sprint, not a thief's stride. He pressed hands against windows, grabbed a rock, smashed the rear glass, pulled out his crying sister, held her to check if she was hurt, picked up the abandoned backpack, likely thinking it could help, and ran, carrying her 3 blocks until police stopped him. Morgan ran Caldwell's face through facial recognition, prior convictions for theft and burglary. He found store footage showing Caldwell buying cigarettes 20 minutes before the crime. Everything matched. But when he tried to submit it, access was blocked. Case assigned to Hamilton, requiring supervisor approval. Morgan called his captain voicemail, then Sarah. I found it, he told her at 5 a.m., Caldwell is the thief. Lucas saved his sister. Video proves it. Sarah's breath caught. Can we get an emergency hearing? I'm trying, but Hamilton is blocking. We go around official channels. They met at Caldwell's Van Nuys apartment. After a chase and forced entry, they found stolen electronics inside. Caldwell confessed, I panicked with the alarm. Didn't know a kid was in the back. Heard a boy got arrested but was scared, parole violation. I'm a coward. He agreed to testify before Judge Whitmore to avoid extra child endangerment charges. Sarah filed for emergency hearing. Hamilton resisted, transparent delay tactic. But Whitmore, after watching the full footage alone at home all night, agreed. He scheduled it for 2 p.m. that afternoon. The courtroom was packed. Caldwell testified in orange jumpsuit, I committed the theft. The boy saved his sister. He shouldn't have spent a second in jail. The complete video played, silence as everyone saw the real sequence. Caldwell fleeing, Sophia trapped, Lucas smashing the window in terror, rescuing her, running to safety. Lucas spoke, I just wanted to save my sister. I'm not a thief. Judge Whitmore's voice cracked with remorse. Lucas, I owe you more than an apology. I owe you justice. I let my prejudices, your neighborhood, your clothes, convince me of guilt before evidence. I was arrogant and blind. All charges against Lucas Martinez are dismissed with prejudice. He is free immediately. The record will reflect he committed no crime. He performed an act of heroism this court failed to recognize. He ordered review of 300 cases handled by Hamilton and recommended disciplinary action. Applause erupted. Maria rushed to hug Lucas. 1 year later, 11-year-old Lucas addressed 200 UCLA law students in a well-fitted suit. Sarah, Morgan, and Whitmore sat in front. A year ago I was arrested for a crime I didn't commit. The system looked at where I came from and decided I was guilty. He spoke without bitterness. This isn't about me being a victim. It's about people who refused injustice. Detective Morgan who investigated all night, Sarah who fought when hope was gone, Judge Whitmore who admitted his mistake and changed. Since then, he's reviewed 300 cases and freed 17 wrongfully convicted people. The prosecutor was removed after 42 cases of withheld evidence or rushed judgment. A student asked, how did you forgive them? I didn't let go of the anger completely, Lucas admitted. But my mom taught me forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's refusing to let the past define your future. The judge owned his error and got better. Staying angry would punish him for improving. Outside, Sophia, now 8, waited with Maria. When I grow up, I want to save people like you, she said. Lucas smiled. We'll do it together. In 1 year, a boy who broke a window to save his sister had broken the silence to help save others. The truth, when someone finally refuses to ignore it, always wins. 1 year after the charges were dismissed, Lucas Martinez, now 11 years old, stood at a podium in front of 200 law students at UCLA. He wore a suit that actually fit. No more donated church clothes or squeaking shoes. He was taller, still a little shy, but carried a quiet confidence born from surviving something that would have broken most adults. Sarah Mitchell, Detective James Morgan, and Judge Harold Whitmore sat in the front row, listening as Lucas began to speak. "My name is Lucas Martinez," he said, his voice steady despite the nerves. "A year ago, I was arrested for a crime I didn't commit. The system looked at where I came from, East LA, poor clothes, a single mom working 2 jobs, and decided I must be guilty before anyone even asked me why I was there." The auditorium was silent. Everyone knew the story. It had become required reading in criminal justice courses across California. The boy judged before being heard, the case that forced a reckoning. "I broke a car window," Lucas continued. "I cut my hands on the glass. I ran 3 blocks carrying my little sister Sophia because she was locked inside and terrified. And I was arrested for theft. The police saw me running with a backpack and decided I was the thief. Nobody asked why I broke the window. Nobody asked about Sophia. They just assumed." He paused, looking out at the faces. "But this isn't a story about me being a victim. It's a story about the people who refused to let injustice win." Detective Morgan could have accepted the easy answer, the footage, the fingerprints, the backpack. Instead, he stayed up all night reviewing every camera angle because he believed truth mattered more than convenience. He remembered a kid he failed 15 years ago and swore it wouldn't happen again. Morgan shifted in his seat, uncomfortable with the praise. Ms. Mitchell could have given up when Judge Whitmore denied every motion, when the prosecutor blocked her at every turn, when the system screamed there was no hope. But she fought for me when I couldn't fight for myself. Sarah wiped her eyes, smiling through tears. "And Judge Whitmore?" Lucas looked directly at the man who once terrified him. He could have stayed defensive. He could have made excuses. Instead, he did the hardest thing. He admitted he was wrong. He apologized. And then he changed. In the year since my case, he has reviewed over 300 juvenile cases where kids claimed innocence but were convicted on circumstantial evidence. He found 17 wrongful convictions. 17 people are free now because one judge decided to listen, really listen. The students began to applaud, but Lucas raised a hand. "And Mr. Hamilton, the prosecutor who fought against releasing me. He's not here today. He was removed from his position after an investigation found 42 cases where he withheld evidence or rushed to judgment. Some of those people are getting new trials. Some are already free." He took a deep breath. "I'm not telling you this to make anyone a hero or a villain. I'm telling you because you're going to be lawyers, judges, police officers. You're going to have power over people's lives. And I want you to remember something. The system isn't broken because bad people run it. It's broken because good people stop questioning it. Because it's easier to assume guilt than to investigate innocence. Because poverty looks like criminality if you're not paying attention." His voice grew stronger. "When I stood in that courtroom, Judge Whitmore looked at my donated clothes and decided I was a criminal. Not because he was evil, but because he had stopped seeing people as individuals. He saw a category, a statistic, a case number." A student raised her hand. "How did you forgive them? The judge, the prosecutor, the system. How did you let go of the anger?" Lucas was quiet for a moment. "I didn't let go of the anger completely. Honestly, I still get angry sometimes. When I think about those 2 weeks in detention, when Sophia wakes up screaming about being locked in that car, when I remember how my mom cried every night. But my mom taught me that forgiveness isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about refusing to let what happened define your future. Judge Whitmore made a terrible mistake, but he owned it. He changed. He's helping other people now. If I stayed angry forever, I'd be punishing him for getting better, and that doesn't help anyone." Another student asked, "But what about justice? Don't you deserve more than an apology?" "You're right, An apology isn't enough, Lucas said. That's why Judge Whitmore helped my mom sue the city. We got a settlement that paid off our debts and set up college funds for me and Sophia. That's why Detective Morgan got promoted to lead a new unit reviewing questionable arrests. That's why Ms. Mitchell now trains public defenders on how to fight even when the system pushes back. He smiled slightly. Justice isn't just punishment. It's making sure the mistake doesn't happen again. And I think we're doing that. Sarah stood up. If I may add something, Lucas and his family could have taken the settlement and disappeared. Instead, they've spent the last year advocating for juvenile justice reform. Lucas has spoken at 6 universities, 3 police academies, and testified before the state legislature on bail reform. He's 11 years old and he's changing the system that failed him. That's what real heroism looks like. After the talk, students lined up to thank him, to share their own stories. One young woman approached in tears. My brother was arrested last year. He's 14. They set bail so high we couldn't pay, and he spent 3 months in detention before the charges were dropped. If it wasn't for your case making people question these practices. Lucas reached out and squeezed her hand. Is he okay now? He is. Thanks to people like you speaking up. Not me, Lucas said. Thanks to Detective Morgan, Ms. Mitchell, Judge Whitmore, who actually did something. I just told the truth. They made people listen. Outside, Maria waited with Sophia, now 8, who still held Lucas's hand whenever they were together. How did it go? Maria asked. Good, Lucas said. They listened. Of course they listened, Sophia said proudly. You're famous. You saved me, and now you save other kids by making sure judges and police treat them fair. Lucas laughed. I'm not famous. I'm just a kid who had something happen to him. You're my famous brother, Sophia insisted. And you're the bravest person in the world. As they walked to their car, a modest used vehicle bought with settlement money, Lucas thought about how much had changed in a year. Better apartment, safer neighborhood. Maria cut back to one job. Sophia's nightmares were rare now. And Lucas had discovered something unexpected. His worst experience had given him a voice people wanted to hear, that he didn't want to be defined by those 2 weeks in detention. But if his story could prevent another child from the same injustice, maybe it had been worth surviving. Not worth choosing again. He wouldn't wish that terror on anyone, but worth it in the sense that suffering can become purpose if you let it. Lucas, Sophia tugged his hand. When I grow up, I want to be like you. A kid who got arrested? He teased. No, she said seriously. Someone who saves people. You saved me from the car. Now you save other kids by making sure they get treated fair. That's what I want to do. Lucas looked at his little sister, the girl he'd risked everything to protect, and felt something shift inside him. He had broken that window because he loved her. Protecting her mattered more than his own safety. Now, a year later, she wanted to protect others the same way. That's what you'll do, he said, squeezing her hand. We'll do it together. As they drove home through Los Angeles, the city that once seemed determined to condemn him, Lucas understood what his mother had always tried to teach. The world isn't fair. Systems make mistakes. People judge on appearances. But the world can get better. Systems can change. People can learn, as long as someone cares enough to speak up, as long as someone refuses to accept injustice as inevitable, as long as truth matters more than convenience. Sometimes all it takes is one 10-year-old boy breaking a window to save his sister, and refusing to let anyone tell him that love is a crime. That was the real defense. Not lawyers, not evidence, not procedures, but the unshakable knowledge that doing the right thing, even when it's terrifying, even when no one believes you, even when the whole world says you're wrong, will always, eventually be enough.